Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero, Chapter 184. When we last left our heroes, the Allied forces converged on Lendard, with Sister, Hermit, and the ex-Draken gang, along with Holy, going to go deal with Dead End Crow, while the rest of the gang headed towards the planet's core to shut things down and get things ready for the chronophage attack. And then Rebecca has this kind of episode that I am positive is not meant to foreshadow any kind of emotional breakdown she'll have at an important moment later, where she sort of panics about the idea of the chronophage following her, and that, what happened on Norma was her fault, what happened on Gils was her fault, and so she kind of blacks out for a minute. She's woken up by Happy, but not fast enough for her to not to collide head on with a drone. She's knocked out, Shiki saves her, and they're kind of left on foot. Homura and Wise end up landing, and they all go to regroup, and we leave them alone for a little bit to check in on Elsie, who sort of struck off on her own path, and she's going to go fight Ziggy directly, not let the chronophage do it, because for a number of reasons, as we learn. The whole general stuff we kind of already knew about, her relationship with Ziggy in the past, but we also learn that Lendard is Elsie's homeworld. And Ziggy's home base is the Palace of Lendard. We get a little bit more information as to what exactly happened. Not much new information, but just that, there was, Elsie's parents were manufacturing some kind of weapon. We don't quite know what, and Elsie leaked that. And that's what led to everything, and her conflict with Justice and everything. But for now, Elsie's fighting Ziggy. I'm sure it won't go well, given that Ziggy is the big bad and Elsie is not the protagonist, but she's gonna give her own effort. So with that said, let's dive right on in chapter 184, Elsie versus Ziggy. And our picture here is of Elsie in a bikini, tying up her ponytail. It is what it is. But we pick up right where we left off, with Elsie and Ziggy staring each other down, as Ziggy approaches. It's just a damn good, glare off there. And Elsie goes straight for her Star Drain, or one of her Star Drain forms, and dashes at Ziggy, and Ziggy just holds out his hand with some kind of gravity ether, and Elsie jumps up to avoid the, gravitational blast or whatever, and draws a blade, and goes right at Ziggy. Ziggy blocks it, doesn't do much damage or anything, but the two of them sort of glare at each other, in this sort of clash of blade on arm. And there's this sort of boom of an explosion of air as they clash. Elsie jumps back and tries to throw a kick at Ziggy as she leaves. And Ziggy just holds up his hand, the gravity increases and Elsie falls. And the pillars around her snap. And now Ziggy is just throwing those pillars at Elsie. I realize I'm not really saying much of weight, but it's largely just a really cool fucking fight scene. There's not a whole lot of character work here or plot progression. It's just a damn well choreographed fight. So Elsie dodges some of these pillars and she spots something approaching her from a distance. It's another pillar, this time that hits Elsie. But she collects herself real fast and lunges right back at Ziggy to continue the fight. And we have this moment, this sort of samurai movie cliche of this slash, as they've both sort of, I think, slashed at each other, and there's this pause where we don't know who's been hit. And we see both of them taking some damage. A slash is made on Ziggy's armor, as well on Elsie. And as we see the steam of Elsie's slash kind of waft from Ziggy's body, to think that little girl would grow this strong. I'd expect nothing less of the Erasion Saints Galactica. You are indeed the equal of Crow and Aknoella. And also Shiki, as Shiki is also a member of the Galactica, and I'm curious if Ziggy will bring that up here. And he does, actually. Ziggy questions, then Shiki is now equal to you in power as well? And Elsie tells him, I haven't sparred with him in a while, but some months back he was almost at my level. He showed me just how strong a person can become when their desire is to protect. So we see that there's also just a little random detail of Shiki and Elsie's dynamic that they have been sort of training in their off time. And Ziggy comments, I see. And Elsie goes on, Shiki meant so much to you before. I can't believe you've changed like this. And Ziggy goes on, that was not the real me. I lost my memories. And without them, I was idiot enough to raise a threat to the cosmoses. Okay, so it's going on to the same sort of thing we've heard about in the past. But I feel like we're going to get more details here. Because Ziggy's been very kind of cagey around the idea of what kind of threat Shiki poses. And he also likes to frame himself as this hero who's trying to save the cosmos. But he's also actively pursuing a genocide. So I'm not really sure if we should be I'm not sure how we should be interpreting Ziggy, is my point. But Elsie questions, a threat to the cosmoses? Shiki. And Ziggy tells her, he is the one who will destroy the universe. And I hope you weren't expecting more information about that, because we don't get any. We head straight to Shiki and Rebecca and Happy making their way through the alleys of Lendard towards the rendezvous point. And they spot a whole bunch of Ziggy's skeleton army. And Happy comments, it's the skeleton army! And Shiki just says, we'll charge through them. And Rebecca, let's go, Happy! Aye, sir! And Happy turns into his blaster form, and she just starts shooting people. Shiki starts crushing them. They're just, plowing through them, but there sure are a lot of these skeletons. And Shiki comments, that's an enemy stronghold for you. They're everywhere. But then, they get shot from another outside source, and it's Homura and Wise here, who are not really at the rendezvous point, but they have come to help out Shiki and Rebecca anyway. Good for them. I love how fucking calm they are. Wise is casually shooting down robots. Homura does not seem to be extending herself at all. She's just slashing so casually. And Shiki grins when he sees them. And Wise calls, over here, Shiki. And Pino, please hurry. And I think that's Homura's line. We shall close that door. We see there is a door between them. We hadn't really seen before. I feel like we maybe should have seen that before we had this moment. But whatever. The door sort of closes. The two of them slide under. Though I'm not really sure they needed to slide under. Like we see at the top of page 12. This is a really random thing. But they seem to be on this side of the door. While the door is still 6 or 7 feet over their heads. And then they slide for no reason. I don't know what's going on in there. I don't know. But they make it out of breath, which again doesn't quite seem right. But anyway. Shiki sort of sighs. Whew. And Rebecca says, not that I didn't expect it, but that was a lot of enemy soldiers. And she turns back, sorry everyone. Because of course, it's sort of her fault that they're all in this mess anyway. But Wise tells her, don't worry about it. And Shiki asks, anyway, what's this passage? And Pino tells him, evidence suggests that this passage will lead us to the planet's core. Okay, so they've already found a way to get to the core. I'm sure all of the Dark Stars will be there to stop them, but okay. And Homer sort of sets that idea up. I did not tell you that the inside too will be crawling with enemies. Brace yourselves. And then we cut back to Ziggy and Elsie. Maybe we'll get some more information as to what exactly Ziggy's been talking about for the past year or so. But their clash sort of continues. And Elsie questions, then did you only save me because of your lack of memories? I'm curious if she's ignoring what Ziggy sort of dropped on her, or if it's a deliberate, time has passed, and she's questioned the whole thing about Shiki will destroy the universe, but is now questioning this other thing. I don't know. Anyway, Ziggy goes on, of course, the real me would never have That's a weird stress. I feel like the stress there should be on never and not have. That's just a really weird line reading. The real me would never have rescued a human girl. Elsie just says, I see. That is truly unfortunate, Ziggy. And she drops her blade, and she goes right on the attack. I guess now that she knows that, that the real Ziggy would not have saved her, and the only reason Ziggy saved her was because of an amnesia, there is no saving him now. She's going right for the kill. 7 stars. Leave your mark. And the light shines, enveloping Ziggy. Grand Chariot! And she drops Grand Chariot right on Ziggy. Oh, and Ziggy just teleports behind her. I absorb Nero's wormhole ability. I can move across space at will. Oh, shit. But then Elsie counters. I knew you would try to attack me from behind. And we see this, these, beams of light surround Ziggy. Is this trap ether? And she's going right on the attack again. Star Drain. Lendard. Taste the power of my planet. Total eclipse. And while Ziggy's trapped there, I guess unable to move, she hits him with this, what seems like light energy? Maybe dark energy. I can't tell. But Ziggy's kind of swallowed up in it. And I can't really get a good look at what the Star Drain Lendard outfit looks like. It looks sort of like barely more than a bikini with thigh highs and elbow length gloves. But she also has this sort of thing in her hair that sort of looks like horns, which I don't know, maybe ties in with the whole Demon King thing. But Ziggy falls, and importantly, I think one of his horns falls off. Which again, it's the same horns that seem echoed in Elsie's Star Drain outfit. But Elsie's just going right back on the attack. She's over him, and she's lunging with her blade. And Ziggy then says, Elsie, run. This is an act. This is an act. He's pretending to be the fucking kind Ziggy that Elsie knew in the hopes that she'll hesitate for a split second, which she does. Take Shiki and his friends and go far away. And Elsie trembles, and she has this flashback of the kind, friendly Ziggy of the past. Also, I want to issue a correction from last week. Last week I mentioned the mouth motif in Ziggy's chest as being a new thing. We've seen the flashback, it was definitely there 15 years ago, and I'm guessing it's been there the whole time. I just never noticed it before. Anyway, Elsie comments, you, and Ziggy grins and stabs right through her. Yep, what did I tell ya? She is pierced through the stomach with a sword, and she's just stunned. And Ziggy just says, that's what it is, Elsie. And that's where we leave off. So I still mostly hold on to my belief from last week that Elsie will not die here. I'm not saying that Elsie's immune from dying, but her story is too tied up with justice for justice to have that not even maybe she'll die after her story with justice is resolved, but it doesn't seem right that she would die before it's resolved, or maybe as part of the resolution. I don't know. Either way, I highly doubt this is meant to be the end for Elsie. She's a Machinima character. Machinima characters have survived worse. But anyway, I do actually want to take a moment to pause on Star Drain Lendard. Because it does seem, we have this last big panel of the chapter where we have the two of them together, and it does seem very reminiscent. What I hadn't noticed earlier, there's the things in her hair that look like horns. She also has a cape. And I think Elsie's always had a cape, but that cape tied up with everything feels kind of Ziggy-like. Which I'm not quite sure why it's Ziggy-like. Beyond, Ziggy doesn't have a deep history with Lendard. He's turned it into his base, but it's not really something he has this deep connection with. So I don't know what we're supposed to take from that, but I feel like we should be taking something from that. But yeah, this is just a badass fight. Those first 6 or so pages are so fucking good. It's just pure action. It's almost, I think it is silent. Calls to mind the sort of, the iconic silent chapter of the Arthur Dragon fight in Fire Force. And it doesn't quite go as hard as that. This is not, I'm not going to say this is going to be on par with Arthur Dragon. Very few things are on par with Arthur Dragon. But it still is a damn good fight. It's, we see both of them at their full power, or maybe Ziggy's hiding some more full power, and Elsie definitely is at this point. She hasn't gone for her Star Drain Lendard yet. But, they're just going at it. And it's thrilling to witness. And then we see a bit more of we're continuously teased with this whole Shiki is the one who will destroy the universe. Which, I'm not sure how seriously, or I'm still not sure what exactly Ziggy's getting at there. Because that's been teased over and over and over and over again. And at some point, we need answers. We need to know what the fuck Ziggy's talking about there, because we just don't at this point. And if this is kind of Ziggy's final arc as the big bad, it's time we learn. And again, it's, kind of 50-50 in my mind that Ziggy will sort of take his swan song in this arc. But if it is, then I imagine, if this is Ziggy's final arc, I imagine he'll die giving some big clue as to what he's talking about. I don't know. That all remains to be seen. But anyway, we then cut to the sort of fight with the skeleton army, which is sort of there. It sort of gets the gang together and sets up a kind of more traditional... It's very reminiscent of their part of the Owie War. How them and also the ex-Draconites, but they were all sort of dealing with the sort of commanders in these one-on-one traditional shonen fights, and that does seem to be what their story is building to right now. There's 4 Dark Stars, there's 4 of them right now in Rebecca, Shiki, Wise, and Homura. Happy and Pino are there too, but Happy is just like Rebecca's weapon. Or not just Rebecca's weapon, but like his role in a fight is Rebecca's weapon. And Pino is more of a weapon of sorts too. They're not going to get their own standalone fights, I mean. So it seems like their story is building to that right now, while the ex-Draken Gang and Holy and Witch and Hermit deal with Crow, and someone eventually deals with Aknoella, I bet. But that's really just sort of more setting up for later things for them. And then we got back to the fight with Ziggy. And yeah, we have that Star Drain Lendard. It's real good. That fight is just real cool. And Elsie almost won, but she hesitates for that fraction of a second. Because, at her... I feel this is the sort of thing that people who are, like, more into big, dramatic... showcasey fights and not, like, the emotional lives of a character would get, like, really angry here that, like, Elsie hesitates. But she desperately wants Ziggy to be good. I think that's a big thing of her character, is that she doesn't want Ziggy. She'll if she has to, she will take Ziggy down. But she wants Ziggy to be the kind old robot she remembers from when she was a kid. And he's not, of course, as she learns far too late, before she's got a fucking sword in her gut. But that's what it is. What else can you do? I don't think she'll die. I think she'll somehow survive. I'm not sure how, given that I don't think anyone is really close to here to help her here. I can't imagine, I'm trying to think of people who, come in a dramatic save. And I don't think we're going to get Justice here. After everything, Justice is not going to, have a sudden turn and save her. This is distinctly not a Jalal Urza dynamic. I don't know, maybe her henchmen will come by, but they won't be able to do much. So while I, from a narrative standpoint, don't think Elsie will die here, I'm also not sure how she'll live. So that remains to be seen. All in all, really fun chapter. Cannot wait to see where it goes from here. But with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!